when I'm in a difficult situation or, whatever, I really try to put myself in the other person's position and think about it. And I've learned that helps a lot, from athletics to coaching to teaching classes. I look, teaching class, I try to look at things from the student's perspective a lot, so anyways, sorry, I digressed there for a second,
it's all good.
but that, so that wasn't going to work. So I decided that it got down to tennis or golf. To this day, why I chose tennis, I still don't know. I had played golf in the past. I had gone out golfing with my family, not well, but certainly better than what I had done with tennis because I hadn't done anything with tennis. And so I just started playing. And when I first started, I had to hold the racket with both hands. Wasn't strong enough to hold it with one hand. Didn't even think about holding it with one hand because that's how I'd held a baseball bat. That presented two major obstacles. Number one, there was the range of motion. I mean, my swing pattern was about 10 inches long, and you just can't hit a ball very hard doing that. And secondly, I couldn't hang on to my joystick of my wheelchair to be able to move.
Right, so you can't move.
So I couldn't move. It's not baseball. That tennis is not baseball. They're not going to throw it, in a spot where I don't have to move. So my dad actually got me this little junior racket that I was able to hold on to with one hand. Extremely light, extremely small grip. And I started hitting against a garage door. Not a garage door, my grandmother's garage door. And my grandpa used to always get mad that when I tell the story, I'd say it was grandma's, but grandparents' garage door. Okay. They've both since passed a long time ago. But anyways, he used to get mad when I first started telling that story. He's like, "Hey, it's my garage door too." When I first started, I could only hit the ball 5 feet, and I got stronger and stronger over time, and developed techniques. And nowadays, if you go, I haven't recently clocked my forehand, but I know it's certainly over 60 miles an hour, and at times, if I had to guess, I probably get in the 70. And if somebody hits it hard enough at me and I connect and hit it back, use their power, I can probably hit close to 80 miles an hour every once in a while. That'd be pretty hard to do that, but my serve alone, I mean, is I think can be in the 60 mile an hour range if I really hit it as hard as I can. So, that's a big difference from that to being able to hit a ball 5 feet.
Yeah, so, that's a huge difference.
Yeah. So
you didn't even start until what grade? Because you said eighth grade.
Eighth grade was, and I started playing before I even got to high school.
Yeah.
Against the garage door because I knew I had to figure it out.
But not till 8th grade, right?
Correct.
Well, I mean, because most Olympians, I'm assuming even Paralympians probably started with that sport since they were really young.
Yes and no. Olympians probably more than Paralympians, and the reason being, going back to what I said prior, with many of the Paralympians, they aren't birth defects.
Right.
They didn't have their disability, but on the same hand, one of the things that's really starting to happen at the Paralympic level is many of these athletes that are Paralympians were already doing that sport before they were injured.
Right.
And so
that's what I mean.
Like, some of the guys in the
advantage.
Right.
You didn't even start till 8th grade.
Right. Some of the guys in the top 10 in wheelchair tennis, they were playing before they ever got hurt.
Right.
So yeah, for sure. But anyways, so I kept working from then. Got put on the high school team. I always, when I give speeches, I always say that I made the team, and I put quotation marks around the word "made" because at my school, making the tennis team at that time meant saying, "Hey, I want to play on the team." That's really all you had to do because nobody played tennis, and we were not good, to put it mildly. From there, about a month into my freshman year of the high school season, Randy Snow, who was a Paralympic legend, I mean, he was a medalist in multiple sports. He was number one in the world at the time in the sport of wheelchair tennis, randomly showed up in Wichita to put on a wheelchair tennis clinic. I didn't even find out about it until the day of the event at lunch. And to be honest, when people told me about it, I didn't believe them.
Really?
I didn't know wheelchair tennis existed. I told them they were stupid. I said, "Leave me alone. You're just making fun of me because I want to play tennis." And I was in a school, and enough people at the school just kept coming up to me saying, dude, I saw this in the paper. So I finally was like, I'm going to prove you all wrong. I'm going to go to the library, and it won't be in the paper. And I went to the library at school, and I looked at the paper, and oh, look, there it is. So I went from, as a typical 14-year-old, I went from there's no such thing as wheelchair tennis to, wow, the world number one's here. I'm going to go and kick his ass. Because in my mind, I couldn't fathom how somebody could be as good at wheelchair tennis as I was, even though I couldn't even hit the ball over from the baseline because I wasn't strong enough.
That's the athlete in you coming out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I showed up and found out exactly how wrong I was. So,
did he admire that though? Did he admire that spunk that you had?
I wasn't that stupid. I didn't roll in saying I'm going to kick your ass.
Oh, okay.
So
that'd been funny if you did though.
Yeah. Oh no, it would have been funny, and I think he did, see the spunk, and he was recruiting from the very first day.
Oh, he was recruiting there too.
Oh yeah, and he would always tell people that he was the one that found me, and he was.
Yeah.
And he unfortunately passed on as well a number of years ago, but yeah, he was always, he was always. That's what they always tell people. I'm the one that found him. So, and he was right. He did, and it was funny. All in one day, I went from what? There's wheelchair tennis to I'm going to kick the world's number one in the ass to holy crap, I'm never going to go to a tournament. These guys are really freaking good. I could never do this.
Yeah.
And that all happened in one day. And then I ended up going to my first tournament about 3 months later. And from there, I just, I did play 4 years of high school tennis against able-bodied kids. I always say this when I give speeches, but I never won a singles match ever in 4 years. I was playing some wheelchair tournaments during the summer and stuff like that, and I did win. I was doing very well in wheelchair tennis, but in actually an able-bodied, I never won. But I just kept going and kept playing.
Did you have a preference? Like, did you like the competition with the able-bodied group, or did you prefer the wheelchair?
I mean, it was obviously, I could be more competitive with wheelchair. But, I will, if I could go back again, I would certainly do high school tennis again, because one thing that Grady, that was the gentleman you just met, that's one of my best friends, and the guy that he was there that day when I went, and that's the day I met him too, when I went to meet Randy Snow. Yeah.
Oh man, that's cool.
He's actually started wheelchair tennis programs in 3 different cities. So and that was basically the start of the program, was that day here.
That's so cool.
Yeah, but he would always say that the difference between March to May each year that I played high school tennis was just drastic, because I was out there every single day for 2 to 3 hours a day, and I had to play against high school, able-bodied high school players. I mean, they're hitting the crap out of the ball at me. I mean, my claim to fame is that I've been hit with more tennis balls than anyone in history. So, because, in high school, they're just throwing it up and just seeing how hard they can hit it, and they have no idea where the hell it's going.
Yeah.
So, not all high school players, but especially back then, and a lot of high school players are still that way.
Yeah.
They just want to see how hard they can hit the ball, and I got hit by a lot of tennis balls. I can't move real quick to get out of the way, and I can't put my hands up. So
half tennis, half dodgeball.
Yeah, I've taken a lot of tennis balls. Yeah. So to the point, I just don't even care. I mean, you got to hit it really, really, really hard for me to care anymore. And don't get me wrong, some of the Wichita State players are fully capable of doing that. They think it's pretty fun, but yeah. So
let's talk about how you went from that and you had this epiphany with was it Randy Snow, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's go from there to when was your first invite to actually participate in the Olympics? What was the build up to that? When did you get the invite, all that stuff?
Okay, so basically from 95 until 2004 was that build up. Because 2004 was the first Paralympics. So for me, and
when was that, in regards to your high school?
95 was my freshman year in high school.
Okay.
So I graduated high school in 98.
Okay.
So, and then I was here at Wichita State as a student all the way through in between there. I was a student here in Wichita State from fall of 98 to sometime in 07.
Okay.
So I call it the Taylor plan, which is my joke because that's my last name, and it took me 8-9 years, whatever. But I got 3 degrees, so I didn't do too bad. So
what are your degrees then?
Undergrad in management information systems, undergrad in sport management, and a master's in sport management.
Oh wow. Okay.
Gotcha. So I just, kept progressing through the sport of wheelchair tennis. Started out in the low beginner divisions, and just moved my way up to the open division, and then started having success. Really in 2000, 2001, that time frame is when I really started to realize that, I can do this. I won my first individual U.S. Open at that time. That's not one of the Grand Slams. That it was when back then we didn't play in the actual Grand Slams. It was the wheelchair U.S. Open. It was out in San Diego, California. A couple years later is when we actually started playing at the Grand Slam, in Flushing Meadows. So it's different, but it's called in wheelchair tennis. That's the tournament I won in singles is called a Super Series. I won that. I beat the number 1 player in the world 6-0, 6-0.
Wow.
And at that time, that's when it really hit me that okay, I'm fully in.
Right.
I can do this.
So this is going to be your thing. You can do it. You can make it. Yeah.
I can do this. And so in wheelchair tennis, I need to just kind of an education thing real quick for people to understand. There's 3 divisions. There's men, women, and quads. Now, obviously, men and women is self-explanatory. What quad means is that you have a certain level of disability in your upper body as well as being a wheelchair user. So I compete against other players that are, have some level of disability in their upper body. Now, I am by far the most disabled playing, especially anywhere near the top of the game, but really one of the most or the most disabled in the whole sport, at least in terms of upper body movement. A lot of them, I can use my legs better than they can because they can't use their legs at all because they're paralyzed. But
that doesn't even matter.
But that doesn't make much difference for tennis.
Right.
So for upper body, I'm one of the most severely disabled, if not the most in the world. That's at least playing competitively. And I bring that up now because the Sydney Games in 2000, I might or might not have qualified. It's kind of difficult to know, and it's something I'll never know because it didn't matter because the quad division was not invited to the Paralympics until 2004.
So that was the first one.
That was the first one ever.
Really?
Yes, was in 2004. Was for the Paralympics. So,
I think they just see the need for one.
Well, they just saw that the quad division had grown big enough and was competitive enough that they needed to have it.
Yeah.
So, and in theory, it should have been in 2000 as well. It just ran out of time. Getting a sport in the Olympics or the Paralympics is not just hey, let's do this and they put it in. It is
a long
years of a checklist that they have to go through. So, one other thing I think I should probably point out, even going back all the way to the garage door and then others. It was important all the way through, but as we talked about that my legs work and the other guys. So the way I serve is I set the ball on my foot, and that's how I toss it instead of using my hand. And that's out of necessity. I'm not able to really toss the ball up with my hand at all. Also, if I did try, then my hand wouldn't be on the joystick of the chair. My right hand wouldn't be on the hand of the joystick. I couldn't throw it high enough with my right hand and then be able to serve immediately afterwards anyways.
You serve by putting the tennis ball on the foot and kick it up?
Yes.
Yes. Wow.
In the very beginning, I actually kicked it. But I very early on, I figured out because I played hacky sack. This is where all the soccer.
I was just about to ask about hacky sack.
Yeah, I played hacky sack and stuff. I basically had learned the stall trick in hacky sack. Where the sack's up in the air and it comes down and you catch it on your foot. Yeah. And I started doing that because I started playing a lot of hacky sack, and I was like, I could do the same thing with a tennis ball and just set it on my foot, you dork, instead of trying to kick it. And so I just would set it on my foot and then just lift it up. And that's much more controlled than, when I kick it, it's a little bit of, I'm pretty accurate, but it's still a little bit of a chase. Setting it on my foot and just lifting it,
That is amazing.
I can put it anywhere I want to, and I am the.
That is amazing.
That I know of. I am the only